Good evening, Mount Vernon. My name is Caitlin Gleason. I am City Council President, and you are here at the Mount Vernon City Council's working session. Today is June 10th, 2024. We will go right into our tally sheet. Starting with legislation and public works.
Good evening, Mount Vernon. And thank you, Council President. I have item number 1, an ordinance authorizing Sankova Social Justice Ministry of Grace Baptist Church to host a resource fair in commemoration of Juneteenth on June 16th, 2024. This is going to be agenda pending, and the reason it's agenda pending is because their application says that they need PD and plain clothes, and the PD's response didn't address it. So we need to confirm that PD is aware of that part. They addressed it in all the other events. All right. So yeah, agenda pending. Item number 2, I have an ordinance granting permission to Grace Baptist Church to host an annual 5K walk run on July 13th, 2024. That's on the agenda. I have item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the closure of East 2nd Street between South 1st and 2nd Avenue for the Unity in the Community, that's a nice name, block party on Saturday, June 22nd. That's on the agenda. I have item number 4, an ordinance granting permission to the Mount Vernon Classic Car Club of New York to host its 11th annual I Know You Got Soul car show at Brush Park for the Department of Public Safety to close West 7th Street between South 3rd and 4th Avenues. That's on the agenda. So just as a side note for the 4 events for legal, there's some specifications and especially PD's responses that they need. They want authority to hire additional police at the expense of the organizer. So can we make sure that it's included in the legislation? So there's no question about that. Thank you. Item number 5, I have an ordinance authorizing the utilization of ARPA funds for VX Rail server maintenance contract that is being held. It's being held because procurement process requires us to go out for competitive bids for that service. Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing the purchase and installation of a prefabricated office space at Canal Street Garage. I still haven't spoken to the commissioner about this, so that's going to be agenda pending. Item number 7 is the Department of Public Works and ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds for the purchase of a new vehicle for the Department of Public Works utilizing ARPA funds. This is being called for. And this is being called for. Wait, I think I have some more. No, item number 7. Yeah, it's being called for because this is a luxury vehicle, and I'm trying to figure out why we can't just get a base model given our financial situation in the city. So hoping for some information about that. Item number 8 is so it's agenda pending, and this is agenda pending because the legislation calls for us to hire police officers to monitor the event, and this should actually be coming from the organizers. So if we can get that corrected. That's for number 8, the Wakanda celebration.
Can you say that again? What did you want? Say that one more time.
Oh, this is agenda pending, and it's agenda pending because the letter says that the city is covering police officers for the event, and it should be the organizers who are covering the police officers for this event. All right. Item number 9 is an ordinance amending ordinance number 3 adopted by the City Council on May 22nd entitled an authorizing the that doesn't make sense. Authorizing the Department of Recreation to co-sponsor City Fest, Business Food Culture Expo with the Friends of Mount Vernon Recreation. And that is on the agenda. And I do not have any add-ons that I know about. So that concludes my report, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown. Human Resources, Councilman Derek Cox.
Thank you, Madam President. I have item number 10, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a service agreement with Westchester County for the Sexual Risk Avoidance Education Program. That's on the agenda. I have item number 11, an ordinance authorizing the Youth Bureau to host the 4th Let Your Colors Shine Pride Day and Flag Raising event. That's on the agenda. I have item number 12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Vernon, New York, honoring and recognizing Linda Jones Iglehart on her retirement, and that's also on the agenda. That's all I have. I don't have any add-ons.
Thank you so much. Councilman Potteet, Public Safety and Codes.
Thank you, Council President. I have item number 13 on the agenda. Department of Public Safety and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a rental lease agreement between 1978 3rd Avenue LLC and the City of Mount Vernon to lease 6 Gramerton Avenue, Suite 407. Again, that will be on the agenda. I've heard from Corporation Counsel that they have gone through the lease and they are ready to move forward. Item number 14 on the agenda, public safety and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an amended contract with Tyler Technologies for expanding the city's current system. For information purposes, PD has determined this is a sole source contract. There is no other way to amend the current technology that Tyler has except by getting more software from Tyler. Item number 15 from Public Safety and ordinance retroactively authorizing 1 member of service to attend the firearms instructor course. That will be agenda pending. Item number 16, also agenda pending from Public Safety and ordinance to retroactively reduce funding for the position of computer console and reallocate funds to optimize organizational structure. The question I have for 15 and 16 is why is this retroactive? Item number 17, also agenda pending from Public Safety and ordinance authorizing the retroactive reduction of the position of ordinance officer.
Let's say that the meeting.
Uh-oh.
You know, also for item number 15,
Shoot.
I don't see a hyperlink on the referral packet for that letter.
That would also be a reason to make it agenda pending. But
I'm sorry?
I said that would also be a reason to make it agenda pending. I'm
Well,
checking.
I see if it could be there, but
Council
could
President,
be operator error. Yes.
curious, are we asking questions about?
Yeah.
as we go through? Okay.
Yeah, so, go right ahead
Okay.
if you have a question.
Yeah, I have several actually. For item number 14, PD doesn't have the ability to determine if it's a sole source or not. And the deputy commissioner said it wasn't procured in the proper way. Right, so this should be held because it needs to go out for the proper procurement.
So if PD doesn't make that determination, then who would it be management services or?
Well, sole source is a matter of law, right? So sole source means that there's no other vendor who could provide that service or that good. And that's not necessarily the case with Tyler. It's technology, but it's not that no one else could provide the type of technology that they have.
Hmm. That's not what they told me. Now, we can discuss this in committee, but I did speak to DC, oh God, Lackard, as well as Tyler. And Tyler has stated that there's no other software that could interface with their, so now we can have the
Right, there's
conversation.
no other software that can interface with their software, but that doesn't mean that we have to interface with their software.
Right, but then how would you deal with the current software that Tyler has with PD?
We would go out to bid to figure out what the best option is based on the bids. We would put out what we need and procure it in the proper way.
And that, if I may, that
Sure.
may very well mean that
Your
we're
mic.
in backup with, sorry, that may very well mean that we're in with Tyler, but just what, for safety purposes, you want to make sure that you do the proper protocol. That's all it is.
If you don't mind, let's leave that agenda pending. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just want to further dive into it before Wednesday.
You're the committee chair, absolutely.
It's item number 14. So we'll turn that from agenda to agenda pending. Item number 18, that will be on the agenda from
I'm
public.
sorry, I have one more
Sure.
question on 17. So they're reducing the funding for ordinance officer. Why are we not hiring an ordinance officer, given the state of the city? In fact, why are we not hiring 2 ordinance officers, given the state of the city?
Not sure. And I'll- Number 18, agenda, public safety, managing position title of personal specialist to personal associate. Item number 19. Oops.
Well,
Item number 19 also.
Go
on the
back,
agenda.
let's
Sure.
go back, let's go back to
Let's
18.
go back to 18.
Councilwoman Brown, did you have a question? I know I
I
did.
did. I didn't hear what you said. Is it on the agenda?
Item
Um,
number 18 is on the agenda.
So for my question is this not a HR function? The personnel specialist?
So as I'm reading the referral letter from PD, they're asking for the position title just to be changed. It's currently in the budget line. They're not asking for a different or higher funding or lower funding, but they're asking for the title to be changed from personnel specialist to personal associate. Would
Yeah.
that be an HR function? And
No. So the title change is fine, but I'm asking, is that position not historic or traditionally in a HR department? And I don't know the answer either way. I'm not saying.
don't know. I mean, it's a letter that I got from PD, so I'm not sure if
Okay.
it sits in PD or HR. We can make it agenda pending and I can find the answer out. That's item number 18. So let's turn 18 into agenda pending. By the way, do we have Commissioner Gibson on the Zoom or no? Can you check? I'm sorry, Clerk Walters, can you check and see if he's on the Zoom? Can you check right now?
We can continue until the.
No problem. Okay. Thanks, Councilmember Thompson. Item number 19, agenda pending now from Public Safety and ordinance authorizing the creation of a personal associate position in the Department of Public Safety. That will be agenda pending the answer to number 18. Item number 20 from Public Safety.
Can I just interrupt you 1 second?
Please,
So
please.
what I'm noticing here is a bit of a pattern, right? And if you go back into item number 17. Okay, where Councilwoman Brown had stated, like, defunding that ordinance officer. And if you read the letter does state that they want to reduce the salary to $1 to increase for other civilian positions, which I'm assuming this is what, this 19, 18, 19,
Yeah.
20, right? But I have to say, and I feel very strongly about this, that most of the complaints that are coming into council members have absolutely everything to do with the violation of ordinances in the city. So I just wanted to make that statement.
And I'll give you a heads up. I called Commissioner Gibson prior to the meeting to ask why, and he's under the impression that the ordinance officer position was moving to the clerk's office. And I don't know if any of you have had a conversation about that, but I don't understand how that could be. And until we figure out what's happening with the ordinance officer, really all of these positions that he's trying to create is affected, right? Because they're taking money from that ordinance officer line.
Can I speak?
Um,
Can I speak, Council President?
Yes, go ahead, Clerk Walters.
Okay, thank you. So historically, the ordinance officer is derived from the clerk's position, from the clerk's office. Because we are, and I am the commissioner of licenses and permits, and ordinances are monitored by our department. That's where the ordinance officer derives. Prior to me, George, Lisa, there has always been an ordinance officer in the clerk's office. It moved over to the police department when the last ordinance officer was in position. And they have been managing it since. I had a few conversations with the public safety personnel about the position once the letter came in that they wanted to defund the position. And I was advised that it wasn't actually being defunded. It was going to be reduced to $1 this year. And next year it would come back to its original line. And that's when I had the conversation and say, well, we need the ordinance officer because there's a lot of licenses and permits and ordinances that are not being complied with, and we need to monitor that. So we came to the conclusion that it would be a police and city clerk function.
Clerk Walters, did you speak to your committee chair regarding that?
No, because it's still in the discussion phase.
Okay. I would like to recognize Councilman Thompson.
I'm just concerned because usually when we bring any position down to $1, it's just to hold that position open. But if we're gonna be taking it out of public safety and placing it into the clerk's office after that conversation is done, it would not be a reduction. It would actually be a transfer of funds and making sure those funds stay allotted to the clerk's office to hold that position open. Because just having the ordinance officer within the clerk's office without it being funded properly would cause havoc, I think. Yeah, so that, yeah.
Okay, so here's where I get, that would be normal, but that's not what they're doing here. They're actually taking it down to $1 so that they can increase, put it in another position, another salary position, which then the administration would have to end up figuring that out come new budget season, right? But in the meantime, to take this down, to fund it to $1, okay, and still have another 6 months left of 2024. I don't know. Anybody have any opinion on that?
Part of the letter, and this is why I asked Commissioner Gibson to come, but maybe we can have him come Wednesday, right? I'm sorry, you were saying? He's joining. It seems like the person doing this job has left. And so I'm assuming, but Commissioner Gibson can then tell us, they may feel that they can't hire someone quick enough to make a difference for the rest of the year. But again, we can talk to Commissioner
I
Gibson.
didn't hear the last part. You said they feel like what?
That they may feel like that they can't hire someone quickly enough to make a dent in this year. Because it seems like from the letter that they're saying that the person who had that position has left.
Yeah.
But again, we can
So
ask.
the person who's in the position is no longer with the city. However, even though it may have historically been in the clerk's office, other municipalities don't put the ordinance officer in the clerk's office, right? They typically go in buildings, or they go to DPW, they might even be in planning and community development, right? But the clerk's office doesn't seem like the appropriate place for the ordinance officer.
Yeah, and I think Caitlin makes a good point that if the money was just removing it for this year and not filling another position, then it would be okay. But once the money is going towards another position, that money disappears, and you're gonna have to refund this position to hire somebody again. So you're gonna be double funding now. So it's probably gonna disappear, or we're gonna have to raise money to get that position back.
If it's fine with council, because we do have Commissioner Gibson on the line, I'll go through everything else from PD, and then we can ask him all the questions we have, if it's fine with council. Fine with Council President. Is that fine with you, Council President?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. So item number 20 will now be agenda pending. 19? Oh, thanks. Item number 19, agenda pending. Public safety and ordinance authorizing the creation of a personal associate position in the Department of Public Safety. Item number 20 also will now be agenda pending from Public Safety and ordinance authorizing the increase in funding, crime analyst step 1 position. Item number 21 will also be agenda pending from Public Safety and ordinance authorizing the increase in funding for 1 position of records clerk in the Department of Public Safety. Item number 22 will be agenda pending from Public Safety and ordinance to retroactively approve the reimbursement of expenses for 2 members of service who attended the reality-based training instructor course.
Can we stop right there?
Sure, please.
Why?
Why is it agenda pending?
No, why, have you spoken to the police commissioner about that?
I have not.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
There's several items I'm trying to figure out why they're retroactive.
I got you.
They're all agenda pending. Item number 23, public safety and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the State of New York Division of Criminal Justice Services to accept the grant funding for law enforcement technology will be on the agenda. Item number 24 from public safety and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with A+ Technology and Security Solutions for the provision of interior and exterior Avigilon cameras for the Mount Vernon Police Department. I was informed by PD that this vendor came from the state. So as such, there's no need to go through procurement because that happened as PD took the vendor from the state list.
Council President, may I?
Go ahead, Councilwoman Brown.
Yeah, I have no issue with the state contract. It's just with the referral letter, it just says they want to purchase these cameras. It doesn't really give a reason why, right? So if possible, if we can get our commissioners to start including information about how it's going to benefit the city so that we can make those informed decisions.
Good point. Got it. And last, item number 25 from public safety and ordinance authorizing the release of proposal RP to solicit competitive bids for HVAC repair and renovation of the department's gun range. Again, will be on the agenda, and those are all the items that I have.
Council President, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Brown.
So I actually spoke with Commissioner Gibson and Commissioner Perez about this one. And this was, I don't know if you all remember, this was the one that it tried to get repaired before. But my question to both of them were, was, why are we combining these two things, right? If we combine it, then we're essentially saying that only one vendor is going to be able to apply because only one vendor has the equipment for the gun range. Why isn't the HVAC one separate bid, and then why isn't the gun range repair a separate bid?
And we should let the commissioner answer it. When I spoke to PD and I had the same question, the gun range, if not done properly, the firing of the bullets can actually damage the HVAC system. And that's why you want one vendor doing both, because if you have someone doing the gun range and someone else doing the HVAC, if the gun range isn't done properly, a bullet damages the HVAC system. The HVAC vendor is going to say, I didn't do the gun range. I'm not holding on to the warranty for the HVAC system. But with that being said, we have the commissioner, so let's ask him this and several other questions. Is it the pleasure of council to go to finance and planning and then come back and ask the commissioner the questions we have about his legislation?
I'm okay with that. If everybody else is okay with that, that's fine. We'll finish that one. Go ahead, Clerk Walters.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I almost forgot. And item number 28, an add-on from the Department of Buildings, and ordinance granting the emergency demolition and payment for a property located at 205 South Fifth Avenue will be on the agenda. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Finance and Planning, Councilman Boxell.
Okay, Department of Planning and Community Development. An ordinance establishing the second assistant commissioner position in department and reallocate ARPA funds. So I was provided the ARPA fund breakdown. I think everybody got that email. I guess the only outstanding thing is the commissioner online? No? No, okay. I mean, there was some question about the perpetuity of this position, like the civil service, or is it not, right? So I guess it could be agenda pending for now. And then, because when I did ask the commissioner that, I think she wasn't sure about the testing and how it's going to actually be implemented. So.
Yeah.
Councilman Potteet.
It was my understanding that these funds were coming from ARPA.
Correct.
So if they're coming from ARPA, then this position would be temporary. Because ARPA is going to run out in a year or two or 3 at the most. Now, something that, and Councilman Copeland would often make this point is, it may start temporary, but it'll probably end up a permanent position, which is FY.
Honestly, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think once there's some kind of funding there, you can have the position be permanent. So it could be funded through ARPA this year, and then next year it'll be tax dollars. And once the position still exists, it could still be a permanent position.
Right. And so the question is, or I would think, and then I'll shut up, it's kind of what's our pleasure. Right? Mm-hmm. But we shouldn't assume this is going to be a temporary position.
All right.
Can I just interrupt the two of you for just a moment? I think it would benefit you both to go back and look at the original legislation for that position, because if I'm not mistaken, I think that position ends 2024, December 2024. But I think that you should definitely take a look.
We can have it on the agenda. If this is enough information for everyone to vote, then I'm fine with it.
Well, no, so the question is, we got the ARPA breakdowns, right? But when are we going to get the referral letter to amend the ARPA budget? Right, so to date, I don't believe we've had it. So this could be, right, the breakdown can change tomorrow. And we wouldn't have,
I think that was the only thing that was requested for at the time though, so. but-
no, I asked specifically
Did you?
Council President to have a referral
You
letter
wanted a
written so
referral,
that we
alright.
can actually amend the ARPA budget.
My apologies. Thanks.
But I would like you both to look at the original resolution for this position before we decide to put it on the agenda.
It says 2 years.
Yes, that's 2026.
All right.
So it ends in 2024?
2026, December.
So this letter does say, I'm requesting reallocation of ARPA funds at the amount of 285 from budget line XYZ. You wanted something, what else did you need?
An amended ARPA budget. Right, so there's been changes to the budget lines. It's proposed, but we haven't amended it before city council. So technically, the lines don't reflect the usage currently.
And logistically, that has to be first, you say?
I mean, so yeah, I would think so.
All right.
But I'm one of five.
No,
as
I mean-
my fellow councilman will say.
It's. I think reading this, I'm comfortable putting it on the agenda. If anybody else wants to, if you want that information, I'll hold it for you though. Let me know.
It's just-
Okay, so this is item number 26 or,
26.
okay, so you want to put it on the agenda? Okay.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. Yeah, I got one more. Department of Planning and Community Development, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute contracts with consultants for planning and community engagement services to complete the Mount Vernon Comprehensive Plan. Yeah, so I thought we were holding this one.
Yeah, we're gonna hold
Okay.
this, okay?
Okay,
Because there's
okay.
gonna be a different letter that comes, but we wanted to put it on just in case they were able to get the contracts together and stuff like that, but we're not able to do so. So, all right, so that is the end of our work session. Does anybody? Oh, Commissioner, oh, is he there? Oh, so sorry. Darn it. Commissioner Gibson. Are you
Good
there?
eve- I'm here.
We have a bunch of questions for you.
Okay.
All right, who would like to begin? All right, Councilman Potteet?
Commissioner, so there's probably 3 buckets of questions. I guess the first one is there are several legislations that are retroactive. I can read them off to you if you want me to, but I'm trying to figure out why council is getting any legislation that's retroactive.
Okay. If you can read them.
Sure. Item number 15 on our agenda is an ordinance retroactively authorizing 1 member of service to attend the firearms instructor course. Item number 16, an ordinance to retroactively reduce funding for the position of computer counsel and reallocate funds to optimize organizational structure. Another item, item number 17, an ordinance authorizing the retroactive reduction for the position of ordinance officer. And I believe there's one more. Yep, item number 22 on our agenda, an ordinance to retroactively approve the reimbursement of expenses for 2 members of service who attended the reality-based training instructor course.
Okay. I believe the first item was addressed, there was an oversight in regards to paperwork getting in late towards the training. So it went in later, they attended the training and we submitted it after, unknowing that the person was supposed to go to that training. I believe that was the item, the firearms instructor training, I believe, right?
And then, I'll use the next item. And ordinance to retroactively use funding for the microphone, sorry, you got on the mic. And ordinance to retroactively reduce funding for the position of computer counsel and reallocate funds to optimize organizational structure.
That was in regards to, we had 2 or 3 civilian positions open, not knowing that current employees will put in for those positions. And the funding was reallocated to represent the salary of the current employee to the new position.
So there's currently someone working in this position? Or was it a switch of positions?
It's a switch of positions. So we had an open position. The person, the computer counsel, was getting promoted to this new position as a analyst.
Okay, I'm very confused right now. So
Okay.
may I interrupt?
Please.
Okay. All right, Commissioner, is there a crime analyst position in the budget?
Yes.
Okay. So you promoted the computer console person to a crime analyst and are reallocating funds from another position to give it a raise?
Yes, to fit that position or fit that salary into that, put that person in that salary that was allotted as a promotion. So that was the ordinance officer.
Okay, so I'm gonna acknowledge Councilwoman Brown.
Yeah. So just for clarity, right, the people that are in the positions, they're union CSEA members and they're at step 10. So at step 10, you're required to go to the max salary, right? And because they have to go to the max salary, they can no longer fit in the salary line. So he's trying to reduce the ordinance officer and also reduce the salary of the computer console person to give to those lines. So I understand what he's trying to do because he didn't imagine that there'll be step 10 and that they would have to go to max. It's just the positions that he's trying to pull from, or the one position at least that he's trying to pull from, is problematic because we believe that we need an ordinance officer as soon as yesterday.
Getting back to this position, the position of computer counsel, so we no longer need that position in PD? Or we don't need it for this year?
We don't need it for this year.
Okay. And why is that? Just curious.
Because that position in regards to the analyst will probably be doing both. We're trying to consolidate some of these positions. And again, we're just trying to reorganize the department with the civilians and what their skill set is going to be.
Understood. Okay, I got it.
Commissioner,
Yes.
does this free up some of the police officers that have been in that department that are working inside and putting them back on the street?
It will. We're still working on that also. So again, we have a couple personnel positions that are open or are going to be open, and taking the police officers from those positions and put them back in the street or position in regards to police work.
Okay, Councilwoman Brown?
Thank you, Council President. Per Comptroller Morton, when did they start in the positions that you're trying to put them in, Commissioner?
The analyst has not started yet because it wasn't funded and she did not receive, we didn't get the funding yet. So as soon as it's approved, she will start that position.
But aren't there salary savings from the beginning of the year? And is it necessary to actually do a transfer now?
I'm unaware of that. I was just told this is the way to go about completing this.
Can I ask it differently? Was there someone in the crime analyst position at the beginning of this year?
This is a new position. There was two crime analysts. This is the third. So no one was in the third position.
So then there should be salary savings from the beginning of the year. This was budgeted at the beginning of the year, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so you should have enough money for the position based on not having paid someone for the first half of the year.
Okay, I'll check on that. But again, this is the way in which we're told to resolve this.
Okay. Yeah, you should do that.
Okay.
Wait, I just want to clarify something. So you had 3 crime analyst positions budgeted for this budget year?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Box Hill?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get a little background on the ordinance officer. Like what exactly does that job title do? What did they do? How did the police department like utilize them before? And if we no longer need those functions, or is it going to be, you know, done by someone else?
I wouldn't say we wouldn't need the function. But the ordinance officer fell into the police department because it was in another area.
Mhm.
And since I've been here, it was going, I want to say it was in buildings. She was reporting to buildings, but we will, in the 2025 budget, put in for that salary again in position.
So when you say reporting to building, just like building code violations, is that ultimately what the person does, or does it like expand to other things?
It would
If-
probably expand other things, but at this point, she was reporting to the buildings department.
So,
That's when I got here. That's where she was reporting to.
I'm gonna recognize Councilwoman. Are you finished, Councilman Box Hill?
That was it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Brown?
yeah, so give some additional background. The ordinance officer is supposed to do violation for any ordinance that we have in the city, right? So it can include, yeah, dogs off the leash.
That was really my question. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So any ordinance we have, they're responsible for, and it kind of encompasses everything.
Right. And we can use that position also. But at this point, the person doesn't is no longer employed by the city of Mount Vernon. We just use that to fulfill the needs of the other.
I'm really curious to see if that has ever been used before. Have we written leash tickets, or, you know, pooping violations, or curb your dog, you know, anything like, have we done that in the past? I mean,
Commissioner, I have a question
Yes.
for you. When it comes to the code enforcement officer, okay? My understanding that that's always been a layperson who's gone for some code enforcement training, not so much certification, but can you clarify that for me?
It is a civilian position, and I'm not aware of how they go about getting their certification. I can find that out for you, but I believe there's ordinance officers in buildings and DPW also.
Okay, thank
So
you.
this position,
No, I understand. Thank you.
So,
Council President.
Okay.
Councilman Potteet?
I just want to ask one more question about a retroactive piece of legislation, then we can talk about the ordinance officer, because I know that there's still a lot of questions around that. Commissioner, item number, let's see, 22, which we have an ordinance to retroactively approve the reimbursement of expenses for 2 members of service who attended the reality-based training instructor course. Again, why was that given to council retroactively?
this was two detectives that went to the reality-based training approved by their supervisor, but it didn't get to my desk for approval.
So just one last note here. Again, please let your deputies know that they should present legislation to city council first before sending out officers to training.
Council
That was
President,
where it was.
I guess I'm trying to figure.
Councilwoman Brown?
Thank you. I guess I'm trying to figure out, why do they have authority to approve something prior to you if it needs legislation?
They did not have authority. So they were advised of what was done and the procedures on how this goes. And they were advised that they did something wrong and we're trying to correct the matter.
All right, Commissioner, if we can pivot to the ordinance officer, if I can just ask council, has the commissioner answered all the questions around ordinance officers, or are there other questions around that position?
I have one question. I don't want the name, Commissioner, but I'm just curious, was it a sergeant or a lieutenant that approved these detectives to do this training?
It was a sergeant.
And they know the process and procedure, correct?
They do now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So is it, I just want to make sure for a sorry, Council President, may I?
Yes, go right ahead.
Moving forward, have all the sergeants and all of the people who have this authority been trained so that we don't have to train one by one?
They were advised by their commanding officers
You're
that came
breaking up
from
now.
me and went down the chain. And I'm sorry, could you hear me now?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes.
I said they're advised now. They were unaware at the time. I advised all the commanding officers, including the chief. Everybody knows this is the procedures. It has to go through legislation for all, for the training to that capacity. So they do know.
All right, any other questions? There's more questions I have about other topics, but any other questions about ordinance officers? I want to make sure council's comfortable with.
I mean, we didn't get the answers that we need, right? It's like, what's the plan? We need this position. In fact, we may need to duplicate the position. But I think Commissioner Gibson has given us what he can on the topic.
So then there's one question that I have around that, which is, so next year we'll be going for funding for the positions that you're asking for now, as well as an ordinance officer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, got it. There's two other questions that I have. One, actually, Councilwoman Brown, item number 24. Do you want to ask the commissioner that question?
Item number 24, give me a second.
Yeah, it was about
Pull up my
the
notes.
cameras.
Oh, Commissioner, thank you. I was asking Councilman Potteet to make sure that we include information. So the letter has that it's a state contract, which is great, right? Because we need to make sure that it was procured properly, but it doesn't give any definition or reason why we should get the contract. It just says that we need these cameras, right? And we don't know exactly what these cameras are for. I've had conversations with you, but it really needs to be documented, right? And how it's going to benefit the city, why we're spending taxpayer money on these things. So if you can include those in future letters, that'd be helpful.
Okay, I thought it was included. I'll correct that.
Okay, I also have a question. Did this go out to bid or this doesn't have to go out to
It's a
bid?
state contract.
It's a state
To
contract.
that
New
point,
York State Department, okay, got it.
yeah, to that point though, Council President, state contracts don't mean that it's the cheapest option. So we can use state contracts. But sometimes we should also go out for some additional pricing to make sure that we're getting a good price.
Yeah, this went through 3 different companies.
Gotcha.
And then, I'm sorry, were there? Council President, I have one more question.
Go right ahead, Councilman Potteet.
There was a question in council about the bid for the RFP for the gun range and HVAC. I believe we discussed this one-on-one when I was at the gun range, but if for the purpose of council and everyone else, why were the bids combined? Why did we combine the HVAC bid and the bid for the gun range and not have 2 separate vendors bid on that work?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Yes, it is, Commissioner.
Why were those 2 items combined, the HVAC and the gun range?
We were advised to do it that way. We got a I believe from the comptroller's office and management services to get that legislation in so we can put it out to bid.
Commissioner,
Yes.
does it have to do with the funding source? Was this, were we getting money from the state for this particular? No, okay, thanks.
No, this is all money.
Commissioner, those are all the questions that I have. Again, does council have any further questions of the commission?
Is everybody else okay? You good?
No, I'm okay. You had other questions with your agenda pending, correct? Okay. Yeah, retroactive. You did the retroactive now. Mm-hmm.
And which just means that we're gonna be funding the crime analyst position now and funding an ordinance officer for next year. And we still haven't answered the question on where that position sits. Is it in the clerk's office, buildings department, or PD?
No, it's in the
Should be in
PD.
the-
It's in the PD. There's no question on that.
Okay. And then I had a question around the HVAC bids, but which was answered. And that's it. That's all I got. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, does anybody have any
Yeah.
other questions?
Can I have one more?
Sure,
So
Basil.
about where the position is this something that the commissioner wanted to relinquish? Did he want to move it out of the police department, or why was this even a discussion? How did that start? I guess that I wanted to know.
How did the discussion of taking the money from that position?
No,
Or-
moving it. How
Moving
did this?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
what was the benefit for keeping it in the PD versus moving it to the clerk's office? How?
I guess I can ask it. Commissioner, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
The ordinance officer, we were asking, it's currently with PD. Is there any thought on keeping it in PD next year? Are you looking to move it to the clerk's office or a different department?
I would like to keep it in the PD, but wherever the best place for it, we can discuss, but I know it didn't originate in the police department, it originated somewhere else. If it was the clerk's office or buildings, I'm not sure. But we can
Thank you.
find use for that position.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, currently, some of the surrounding, New Rochelle definitely has it under the police department. I know that for sure. Councilwoman Brown?
Yeah, so you said though, they were reporting to building, so if you keep it under PD, the goal is to have them report to PD? Or
Yeah, it was complicated on how this came about. But it was a direct report to the buildings department.
Councilman Thompson?
I personally think that it would be more beneficial to the city if it was in the buildings department. Because I know PD has a lot on their plate, as well as taking care of even our crossing guards, another thing that shouldn't take up all of their time and attention. But when we think of ordinance and what needs to happen throughout our city, I do think the ordinance position would be more effective if it was coming out of the building department to ensure that everything that needs to be done can be done.
Second.
And directly report to the building department and help that department as well.
Councilman Boxell?
I think I would just honestly disagree with that, Derek. I think that, yeah, because of what was explained by Danielle and then the commissioner earlier, the wide range of, tasks that this person have. I don't want them to just be looking at building violation codes. I mean, and if it becomes a problem where the police department is kind of overwhelmed with these smaller, quality of life things, then that kind of an argument to bring it to the clerk's office, if it's a efficiency, not buildings, because buildings is kind of specialized in building codes, whereas since the ordinances are kind of coming from us, then we kind of have some oversight over that. I mean, nothing is wrong with us, having oversight over ordinances and ordinance enforcement, since they're kind of like funneled to us, by the public all the time. So.
Yes, Councilman Thompson?
Yes, I do believe, working along with our Director of Constituent Services, if it was placed in the building department, they can sort of funnel those issues that are coming in throughout the community, because I know we have several issues that are coming in that have not been addressed. So if they can have that partnership going on, I just think if they're under the same roof, which is the building department is right around the corner from, I mean, it can go into further discussion, but I know we have a plethora of issues in and throughout our community, and we have to make sure that our ordinance officer can effectively report to the person he needs to report to and get the job done.
Okay, so I guess it's a great thing that position is not in front of us right now, but defunding it is, decreasing it is. So I'm gonna go to Councilman Potteet, and then Councilwoman Brown directly after.
Thank you, Council President. Just one other question for clarification. When you say this position reports directly to buildings, does PD have any oversight on this position, or does this person literally talk to the Commissioner of Buildings, works with the Commissioner of Buildings, and is only on the budget for PD?
I believe it's more on the budget. I have not met the person in question, so my understanding is just reported to buildings.
Got it. So then something council may want to think about if it's in our purview is, it does sound like that person should go somewhere, not in PD.
Well,
Whether it's the clerk's office or buildings.
I think and Commissioner, correct me if I'm wrong, you saying historically they were in your budget line, but were reporting to buildings, but you would like to have the position in your department and report to you?
That's true. I think it was Councilman Boxell that said there's a plethora of ordinances that we can enforce with the oversight from the police department, but I'm not objecting to it going to building. I mean, to the clerk's office neither. We can work hand in hand with that. So can we need it, use that position? Yes, we can.
Yeah.
I'm recognizing Clerk Walters.
Thank you, Council President. So just to clarify, historically, it was not in police department and reporting to buildings. The position or the person in the position reported to buildings last year because of some circumstance. The position historically derived from the clerk's office. It was moved over when that same person was in the position into the police department because of personnel issues. But again, the clerk's office is responsible for licenses and permits. And for years, the ordinance officer was in the clerk's office and was manning the licenses and permits. They go out every day and check what was not being complied with and what needs to be rectified. They're able to man the ordinances because most of the licenses and permits come from the clerk's office. They're not able to do so if they're in the police department, nor the buildings department, because I'm afraid it will be concentrating on buildings or police. And police doesn't have access to all the ordinances, nor can they quickly jump on the phone. I believe the best situation is, as we were in discussion, to make it be half and half, the police and the clerk's office.
Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Walters. Councilwoman Brown?
Yes, thank you, Clerk Walters. I actually disagree, right? I think if they were to go into the clerk's office, they'll focus on license and permits. And this should be a wide breadth, right? And I think the police often get the quality of life calls. They're able to fill those. We don't have the manpower to go out and do it. And it will give them the opportunity to address some of these smaller quality of life things that we just don't have the capacity to send officers to. I think, yeah, as with any position that touches the whole city. They should be able to collaborate across the different departments, right? And get some feedback. So maybe there's some meetings that are set up, but I think another thing to emphasize is we can't focus on what was historically done in Mount Vernon, right? We should be looking at best practices, and other municipalities do not have this position in the clerk's office, and I believe it's for good reason.
Okay, with that being said,
Councilwoman, there's just one very final question I have about process. What's our next step here? I just want to make sure whatever we do, this conversation is not law. So do we have subsequent meetings? Do you follow up with, and you make a decision, whatever we do, I just want to make sure we do a thing.
well, I mean, I would like to hear from each one of you when it comes to decreasing the salary in this. Like, how do you feel about that? I personally, I couldn't vote yes for that because I still feel like we need this position in the police department. And I think that, you know, it would still be there. Okay, and somebody would still be working. Okay, but I don't think we've actively gone out. I don't know what the administration has done to actively go out and search for a candidate for this position, but it has been a civilian position. And I don't think my opinion is, I don't think it should be, you know, decreased. I don't think the salary should be decreased, but that's just my opinion. So I'll go to Councilwoman Brown, Thompson, Potteet, and then Boxell. Again, this is not a vote. It's just, let's discuss it. This is, you know, why we're here at this work session. So Councilwoman Brown.
So my thoughts are that we do not decrease the current salary, and that we actually have a meeting with the mayor to figure out, what the vision is for this position, right? So we know we absolutely need it. I think we're all in agreement with that, and figure out who can actually, what department it should be in. I think that's where it should go.
Councilman Thompson? Councilman Potteet?
Ditto with Councilwoman Brown. I think we're all on the same page that we need a compliance officer here in the city for the next 6 months. How that happens and where that sits, again, is a conversation we should have.
Councilman Boxell?
Yeah, I think that we're kind of all on the same page that this is a needed position. I mean, but this kind of shows that, I mean, if this request comes in that the police doesn't really have a use for this position at this time, or at least in the recent past, you know.
I didn't get that exactly.
No,
I think
because
that
if-
they have a use for it. I think that they're just to discuss, right? I think that Councilman Potteet, I think you have to, before Wednesday, sit with the commissioner and find out if there's other money or positions that are not filled, that are not code enforcement, that could
Right.
potentially.
But they're literally getting rid of it. So
No, but he literally said the reason that he's getting rid of it is
Yeah.
because he believed it to be going to the clerk's office, not because he didn't need it.
Okay.
Because he thought that the position was being moved, like he said that at the beginning of the call.
but it's been here since the beginning of the year and it's not being used.
I'm sorry. Well, that's what he said, so it doesn't matter if it's the case or not, he said it, that's why he's defunding the position, and we can have him speak now, so I'm not speaking on his behalf. But I also think he can work with the comptroller to identify salary gaps and how he can fill those gaps, but
Sure. You made a point about the position being vacant for the first half of the year and that they should have enough in their budget to fund it for the rest of the year. So if you can do what, he can achieve what he wants even without doing this. That might be very possible, I think. So.
Okay, so I think, Councilman Potteet, I think, like what Councilwoman Brown and, Councilman Boxell said, I think that there is savings in that position, that he'd be able to accomplish what he needs to accomplish in that position. When it comes to, obviously, I mean, I would say we're holding this particular, decreasing of
he's a committee chair.
chair.
Sure, it's not just, so if I understand council, and if I understand you, council president, we're gonna hold legislation for 17, 18. No, I'm sorry. 19, 20, and 21. 19 is the defunding of the position, and 20 and 21 is to using that funding for other positions. That would be the first step. The second step is to sit down with the commissioner and the comptroller and figure out if there's other funds that can then be used for these positions. And then the third step is to sit down with the mayor, one of us, to figure out what her vision is for the ordinance officer. Is that correct, or was there?
And try to get another one while we're at having that conversation.
Let me just write that down before I forget. Anything else, Council President?
Give me those numbers again. So item number,
So item number 19 is the,
creation of personnel associate, right? Okay, hold on. So I think that 20, an ordinance authorizing the increase in funding.
no, I'm sorry,
crime
I'm
analysis.
sorry, it's 17, I'm sorry, it's 17, 20, and 21. So 17 is an ordinance authorizing the retroactive reduction for the position of ordinance officer.
Right, so that one should be held,
And then also then that triggers 20 and 21.
but we don't know yet, right? Because like I said, I would like you to go back and see if we can call for these two, see if they could identify another funding source within that department. Does anybody else agree?
That's fine. That's fine. We can call for.
Yeah, there could be some salary savings somewhere in that department, and if not, then, we could hold it on the floor.
We've already identified the salary savings though, didn't we? From the
For
beginning of
one.
the year.
For the criminal analyst,
Was
but not
it-
for the, the records clerk.
Has there been someone in that position from the beginning of the year? Commissioner, can you answer that?
Commish?
For the records clerk,
Records clerk, number 21.
no,
There hasn't been somebody in that position?
no, that
Yes,
was,
there was. There was, Commissioner. That person took another position. I mean, there might be 2 months that somebody was not in that position. That's something, yeah, okay, so you're gonna have to, yeah. You're gonna have to research that.
Well, he could just work with the comptroller's office to
Yeah,
see what's in there.
You're gonna have to find other salary savings, and then we can make that decision on what we're gonna do with 20 and 21.
Got it. And then,
My
And
understanding-
17
work
is
with
being-
comptroller's office to find that was the resolution to do what we're putting forward. But
Oh.
I'll check with them again.
Yeah, because like we said, you could have had salary savings for crime analysts and records clerk, but you gotta identify and make sure that that money is okay and enough for what you want to do.
got it.
Okay.
And then, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, hold on, Commissioner, go ahead, Potteet.
I was just gonna say, lastly, with the meeting with the mayor about this, do you want to do this in committee? Or do you, as council president, want to meet with the mayor?
I think you could do it in committee. And see what her vision is and with the police commissioner and her.
No problem.
Okay, with that being said, do we have any final comments? Okay, thank you for joining us, Mount Vernon. We will see you on Wednesday, June 12th for our public session at 7 p.m. Thank you. Have a good night.